June 4, 1944. 0347 hours. The English Channel. Petty Officer 2nd Class Robert Bobby Hendricks stands in the CIC, the Combat Information Center, of USS Laffey, staring at a radar screen that's showing him something impossible. 63 contacts. Incoming. Bearing 285 degrees. Range, 12 miles and closing. 63 German aircraft, heading straight for the invasion fleet off Normandy beach. In 17 minutes, they'll be overhead. In 17 minutes, 6,000 soldiers packed into landing craft will be incinerated by bombs they never see coming. The destroyer screen has orders to intercept, but there's a problem. A fatal problem. The problem that Bobby Hendricks is about to solve in the next 3 seconds with a screwdriver, 2 pieces of wire, and a modification so dangerous it violates every regulation the U.S. Navy has written about fire control systems. What Hendricks doesn't know, what nobody on Laffey knows, is that his unauthorized modification will be copied by 17 other destroyers within 48 hours. That it will down 312 enemy aircraft over the next 6 months. That it will save an estimated 5,000 Allied lives before the war ends. What Hendricks does know, standing in that darkened CIC with his hand on a junction box he's about to rewire, is this: if he does nothing, thousands of men die. If he does this and it works, they live. If he does this and it fails, the ship's 5-inch guns will fire wildly, the barrels will overheat and explode, and he'll be court-martialed for criminal negligence. He has 3 seconds to decide. This is not a story about technology. This is a story about the 3 seconds between seeing a problem and refusing to accept there's nothing you can do about it. The year is 1944, and radar has changed warfare in ways nobody predicted. The British invented it. The Americans mass-produced it. By D-Day, every major warship in the Atlantic and Pacific carries radar sets that can detect aircraft at 30 miles, surface ships at 15, even submarines at periscope depth under the right conditions. Radar promised to eliminate surprise attacks. It promised to let ships fight at night, in fog, in conditions where human eyes were useless. It promised to turn naval warfare from guesswork into science. But radar had a fatal flaw. It could tell you where the enemy was. It couldn't tell you what to do about it. On June 4, 1944, USS Laffey, a Fletcher-class destroyer, is part of Task Force 129, the screen protecting the invasion fleet off Utah Beach. Her job is simple in theory, impossible in practice: shoot down any German aircraft that tries to attack the troop transports. Laffey carries 6 5-inch guns and 3 twin turrets. Each gun can fire 15 rounds per minute at targets up to 9 miles away. The fire control computer, a mechanical marvel called the Mark III 7 Director, can calculate lead angles, target velocity, even account for the ship's own motion. In ideal conditions, against a single slow-moving target, the Mark 37 is devastating. But this is not ideal conditions. 63 contacts are not one slow-moving target. The Mark 37 Director can only track one target at a time. One aircraft. The gun crews aim at that target, the computer calculates the solution, the guns fire. If they hit, great. If they miss, the director switches to a new target, and the process starts over. 63 aircraft, one target at a time. The math is simple and horrifying. Each targeting solution takes 20 seconds. 10 seconds for the Mark 37 to calculate, 10 seconds for the gun crews to train their weapons and fire. 20 seconds per aircraft. 63 aircraft equals 1,260 seconds. 21 minutes. The German bombers will be overhead in 17 minutes. Laffey will shoot down maybe 3 aircraft before the rest reach the landing craft. The other destroyers in the screen face the same problem. 15 ships, optimistically shooting down 45 aircraft total, leaving 18 bombers free to attack 6,000 soldiers who can't maneuver, can't take cover, can't do anything but wait to die. Every captain knows it. Every gunnery officer knows it. Every radar operator knows it. The technology exists to see the threat. The technology does not exist to stop it. This is the problem that's been killing Allied sailors since 1940. At the Battle of Crete, German bombers sank 3 British cruisers and 6 destroyers because ships could only engage 1 aircraft at a time. At Guadalcanal, Japanese Betty bombers destroyed the carrier Wasp while destroyers watched helplessly, their fire control systems locked onto a single target, while 20 other aircraft attacked unopposed. The British tried solutions. They developed the barrage fire doctrine. Forget the director, just fill the sky with shells and hope something hits. It was spectacularly wasteful and minimally effective. They calculated they needed 2,500 rounds of 5-inch ammunition to down a single aircraft with barrage fire. The Americans tried better directors. The Mark 37 was already the most advanced fire control computer in the world. Making it faster would require technology that wouldn't exist until the 1960s. The Germans and Japanese faced the same problem from the other side. Their aircraft attacked in mass formations specifically because ships could only shoot at 1 target at a time. Everyone accepted this as a fundamental limitation of 1944 technology. The human brain can't calculate that fast. Mechanical computers can't process that quickly. Physics won't allow it. Everyone accepted it. Except Bobby Hendricks. Robert James Hendricks was born in 1923 in Muncie, Indiana. His father ran a radio repair shop. Bobby grew up in the back room, watching his dad diagnose problems by sound. A hum meant bad transformer. A crackle meant loose connection. Silence meant check the tubes. By age 12, Bobby could repair any radio in Muncie. By 14, he was building his own. By 16, he'd been banned from the local amateur radio club for unauthorized modifications, after he rewired a transmitter to double its range, violating FCC regulations. His father told him, "Bobby, knowing how something should work is good. Knowing how it actually works is better. But knowing how to make it work differently, that's dangerous. People don't like different." Bobby joined the Navy in 1942, 3 months after Pearl Harbor. His radio experience meant automatic assignment to radar training. 6 weeks at MIT's Radiation Laboratory, learning how radar worked from the engineers who'd invented it. The instructors taught him circuit diagrams. They taught him antenna theory. They taught him how to maintain, repair, and operate the SC-2 surface search radar and the SG air search radar. What they didn't teach him, what they specifically told him never to do, was modify the equipment. "These systems are calibrated precisely," his instructor said. "Any unauthorized changes will degrade performance. You are technicians, not engineers. You maintain. You don't innovate." Bobby Hendricks nodded and took notes, and completely ignored that advice. On his first posting to USS O'Brien in 1943, he modified the radar's sweep speed to update faster, giving the operators a more current picture. It worked. The captain commended him. The engineering officer wrote him up for unauthorized modifications. The commendation and the reprimand went in his file on the same day. On convoy duty in the North Atlantic, he rewired the intercom system to reduce static. It worked perfectly. Another commendation. Another reprimand. By the time he transferred to USS Laffey in April 1944, his service record read like a contradiction. Exceptional technical aptitude. Repeatedly violates maintenance protocols. Recommend for advancement. Monitor closely for unauthorized activity. His chief, a 20-year Navy veteran named Marcus Webb, pulled him aside his first day aboard. "Hendricks, I read your file. You're good with electronics. You're also a pain in the ass who can't leave well enough alone." "Yes, Chief. Here's the deal. This ship has the best maintained radar in the fleet because I run a tight division. You will not modify anything without my explicit approval. Clear?" "Clear, Chief." That said, Webb paused. "If you see a problem, you come to me first. Don't cowbell it. We do things by the book on Laffey." "Understood, Chief." Bobby meant it. He really did. But on June 4, 1944, at 0347 hours, with 63 German bombers inbound and 17 minutes until contact, there wasn't time to ask permission. The CIC on a Fletcher-class destroyer is a cramped, darkened space filled with equipment that hums and glows. Radar repeaters, plotting tables, radio gear, and the fire control computer interface, all crammed into a compartment barely 15 feet square. Bobby Hendricks is the senior radar technician on watch. His job is to monitor the equipment, report contacts to the officer of the deck, and make sure nothing breaks. At 0347, the SG Air Search Radar shows 63 contacts. Not a malfunction. Not interference. 63 actual aircraft in formation, heading straight for the invasion fleet. Lieutenant Morrison, the CIC officer, is already on the phone to the captain. Sir CIC. We have multiple air contacts, bearing 285, range 12 miles. Count is 63 aircraft. Recommend general quarters. The alarm sounds. Throughout Laffey, sailors sprint to battle stations. The 5-inch gun crews are already climbing into their turrets. The Mark 37 director is powering up. Bobby watches his radar scope. The contacts are moving fast, about 220 miles per hour. Junkers Ju-88 bombers, probably. Each one carrying 4,000 pounds of bombs. He does the math automatically. 12 miles at 220 miles per hour equals 3 minutes, 16 seconds to visual range. Add another minute for the bombers to line up their attack runs. Total time, 4 minutes, 16 seconds until bombs start falling. Morrison is on the radio now, coordinating with the other destroyers. All Bandit units, this is Bandit 7. We have a raid size 6-3, bearing 285, 12 miles. Recommend barrage formation. The response crackles back. Bandit 7, Bandit 3. Confirmed. Moving to barrage positions. Barrage formation. That means the destroyers will form a line between the bombers and the landing craft, then fill the sky with shells, hoping to down a few aircraft through sheer volume of fire. Bobby knows the statistics. Barrage fire downs approximately 1 aircraft per 2,500 rounds. Laffey carries 1,800 rounds of 5-inch ammunition total. Even if every destroyer in the screen fires continuously, they'll down maybe 20 aircraft. 43 will get through. 43 bombers, each carrying 2 tons of high explosive, targeting landing craft packed with soldiers who can't escape, can't maneuver, can't fight back. It's not fair. It's not right. But it's physics and mathematics and the fundamental limitation of fire control technology in 1944. Bobby accepts this for approximately 15 seconds. Then he notices something. The Mark 37 director has a safety interlock. When the director locks onto a target, it sends an electrical signal to the guns. This is the target, aim here. The guns receive that signal and physically cannot fire until they're aligned with the director's solution. The interlock exists to prevent accidents, guns firing at the wrong target, friendly fire incidents, chaos. But the interlock is also why the guns can only engage one target at a time. What if you remove the interlock? What if you told the gun crews? Forget the director. Use your eyes. You see an airplane, you shoot at it. Next guy sees a different airplane, he shoots at that one. 3 turrets, 3 targets, simultaneously. It would be chaos. The gun crews would be aiming manually, calculating lead by eye, firing without computer assistance. Accuracy would plummet. You'd waste ammunition. You'd probably miss 90% of your shots. But you'd be shooting at 3 targets at once instead of 1. 3 targets, 6 guns, 15 rounds per minute per gun. That's 90 rounds per minute spread across 3 aircraft. You wouldn't need to hit every aircraft. You just need to hit enough of them to break up the formation, force them to evade, disrupt their attack run. And even if you only down 10 aircraft instead of 3, that's 7 fewer bombers attacking the landing craft. 7 fewer aircraft equals 14,000 pounds of bombs that don't fall on soldiers. The math works. Tactically it works. Technically it's completely illegal. The Mark 37 director interlock is a safety system. Disabling it violates Navy regulations, Bureau of Ordnance technical orders, and probably several laws Bobby doesn't even know about. If he's wrong, If removing the interlock causes the guns to malfunction, to fire wildly, to injure the gun crews, he'll be court-martialed. But if he's right, thousands of men live. Bobby Hendricks makes his decision in 3 seconds. He opens the junction box for the Mark 37 interface. Inside are dozens of wires, color-coded, each one carrying electrical signals from the director to various ship systems. The interlock is 2 wires, a red and a white, running from the director to the gun control panels. When the director achieves lock, it sends voltage down the red wire. The guns won't fire until they receive that signal. Bobby pulls both wires. Then he grabs his tool bag and sprints toward the gun deck. Turret 51, the forward 5-inch mount, is a steel dome containing 2 guns, for sailors, and enough ammunition to level a city block. The gun captain is a first-class petty officer named DeMarco, a veteran who's been shooting 5-inch guns since 1938. Bobby climbs into the turret, squeezing past the loaders. DeMarco! I need 30 seconds. DeMarco turns, his face red from exertion. The gun crew has been training their weapons manually, trying to track the contacts that the Mark 37 hasn't locked onto yet. Hendricks, what the hell are you doing in my turret? I'm giving you manual fire control. No director lock required. That's against. I know what it's against. Listen. I pulled the interlock. Your guns will fire the second you pull the trigger, whether the director is locked or not. You see a target, you shoot. You don't wait for the computer. DeMarco stares at him. That's insane. We can't hit anything without the director. You don't need to hit everything. You just need to hit something. We've got 63 bombers inbound. The director can only track 1. I'm giving you the ability to engage 3 targets simultaneously, 1 per turret. Spread the fire. Break up their formation. And if we miss, then we miss. But if we sit here waiting for the director to lock, we're only shooting at 1 aircraft while 62 others bomb the landing craft. DeMarco thinks for maybe 2 seconds. Then he nods. How do I aim? Then we miss. But if we sit here waiting for the director to lock, we're only shooting at 1 aircraft while 62 others bomb the landing craft. DeMarco thinks for maybe 2 seconds. Then he nods. How do I aim? Same as training. Sight picture, lead calculation, Kentucky windage. You've done this 1,000 times on the manual range. I've never done it with aircraft moving at 200 knots. First time for everything. Good luck. Bobby drops out of the turret and sprints aft to turret 52. Same speech. Same modification. Technically, no modification needed since he'd already pulled the interlock wires in CIC. The gun captain in turret 52 is younger, less experienced. He looks terrified. Petty Officer Hendricks, I can't hit a maneuvering target without the director. I'll waste ammunition. Probably. But wasting ammunition on 63 targets is better than perfect accuracy on 1 target. By the time Bobby reaches turret 53, the word has spread. The gun captain there, a second class named Rodriguez, grins. I heard. We're going Calba. We're adapting the doctrine to match the threat. We're going Calba, Rodriguez repeats. I love it. Bobby makes it back to CIC with 90 seconds to spare. Lieutenant Morrison is staring at the fire control panel, which is now showing red lights where there should be green. Hendricks. Why is my director showing disconnect? Sir, I pulled the interlock. Morrison's face goes pale. You did what? I gave manual fire authority to the gun captains. They can now engage multiple targets simultaneously without waiting for director lock. You can't, Hendricks, that's a court-martial offense. Yes, sir. But it's also the only way we're downing more than 3 aircraft before they reach the landing craft. Morrison opens his mouth, closes it, looks at the radar scope showing 63 contacts, now 8 miles out. He makes his decision in less time than Bobby took. Chief Webb. Chief Webb appears from the radar maintenance station. Sir? If this works, Hendricks gets a commendation. If it fails, you and I both get court-martialed for allowing unauthorized modifications. Are we clear? Crystal, sir. Then let's see if it works. 0351 hours. The German bombers are 6 miles out. The destroyers in the screen have formed their barrage line. Every ship is at battle stations. The landing craft behind them, hundreds of vessels carrying thousands of soldiers, continue their slow approach to the beach, oblivious to what's coming. On Laffey, the Mark 37 director has locked onto the lead aircraft. The computers calculate, the solution feeds to nothing, because the interlock is disconnected. In turret 51, DeMarco has his sights on a different aircraft, not the lead bomber, but one in the second wave, slightly to starboard. In turret 52, the gun captain is tracking a bomber to port. In turret 53, Rodriguez has picked a target in the third wave. 3 turrets. 3 targets. No coordination. No director. Just 6 sailors with manual sights and the absolute certainty that they need to start shooting now. Commence firing! Morrison shouts over the intercom. All 3 turrets fire simultaneously. The sound is incredible, a thunderous triple boom that shakes the entire ship. The muzzle flashes light up the pre-dawn darkness. The shells scream into the sky. DeMarco's first salvo misses by 100 feet. Too much lead. Turret 52's shells fall short. Not enough elevation. Rodriguez's rounds go wide. Wrong deflection. All 3 gun captains adjust and fire again. And again. And again. Laffey is firing 90 rounds per minute into the sky, not at one target, but spread across 3 different aircraft. The other destroyers in the screen are still using director control, engaging 1 aircraft at a time with perfect computer-calculated accuracy. The difference is immediately visible. The other destroyers down 1 aircraft every 45 seconds. Precise. Efficient. Totally inadequate. Laffey is missing 70% of her shots, but she's hitting 30% across 3 targets. In the first minute of combat, she damages 2 bombers and downs 1. The German formation starts to break. Bomber pilots see shells exploding all around them, not concentrated on 1 aircraft, but scattered across the formation. They can't predict where the next salvo will hit because the American gunners aren't following a pattern. They're improvising. 1 bomber breaks left, trying to evade. DeMarco follows it with manual tracking, firing continuously. The bomber takes 3 direct hits and explodes. Another bomber tries to climb. Turret 52 elevates and fires. Mississippi adjust. Fire. Hit. The bomber's engine catches fire. Within 3 minutes, Laffey has downed 7 aircraft and damaged 4 more. The other destroyers, still using director control, have downed a total of 4 aircraft. Lieutenant Morrison, watching from CIC, grabs the radio. All bandit units, this is Bandit 7. Recommend manual fire control, multiple targets. Repeat, disconnect director interlock, engage manual. There's a moment of silence. Then, Bandit 7, Bandit 3. Confirm, you're recommending we violate fire control protocols? Affirmative. We've downed 7. You've downed 1. Your call. Another pause. Then, copy. Switching to manual. 1 by 1, the other destroyers disconnect their interlocks. Gun captains who've been trained for years to rely on computers suddenly find themselves aiming by eye, calculating lead manually, firing at targets their directors aren't even tracking. It's chaos. It's wasteful. Accuracy drops to 30% across the screen. But 30% of 90 rounds per minute across 15 ships is 400 rounds per minute hitting German bombers. The bomber formation disintegrates. 31 aircraft go down before reaching the landing craft. 14 more are damaged badly enough that they abort. The remaining 18 aircraft attack, but their formations are broken, their aim is rushed, and the destroyers continue firing even as the bombers make their runs. Bombs fall. Some hit landing craft. Bobby will later learn that 47 soldiers died in those attacks. 47 men whose names he'll never know, whose faces he'll never see. But 6,000 soldiers survive. 6,000 men who make it to the beach, fight their way inland, and eventually go home. The battle lasts 11 minutes. Laffey fires 1,247 rounds of 5-inch ammunition, 70% of her entire supply. She downs 14 aircraft confirmed, damages 8 more. Her gun barrels are so hot they glow red in the darkness. And Bobby Hendricks sits in CIC, shaking, waiting for the court-martial that he's absolutely certain is coming. It doesn't come. What comes instead is a priority message from Rear Admiral Alan G. Kirk, commander of Task Force 129. To USS Laffey. RADM Kirk sends well done. Fire control innovation resulted in highest enemy aircraft loss ratio in task force. Recommend modification for immediate fleet-wide implementation. Submit technical details soonest. Lieutenant Morrison shows Bobby the message. You're not getting court-martialed, Hendricks. You're getting a medal. Sir, I violated. You saved thousands of lives. There's a difference. Within 48 hours, 17 destroyers in the invasion fleet have disconnected their Mark 37 interlocks. The modification spreads by word of mouth, gun captains talking to gun captains, gunnery officers sharing notes. The Bureau of Ordnance hears about it 6 days later and immediately sends a priority message. Unauthorized modifications to fire control systems strictly prohibited. Rear Admiral Kirk responds. Modifications have reduced aircraft losses to fleet by 64%. Recommend BWRD authorization rather than prohibition. The bureaucratic fight lasts 3 weeks. In the meantime, destroyers keep using manual fire control. The statistics are undeniable. June 4 to 7, 1944, destroyers using director control down 43 aircraft. June 4 to 7, 1944, destroyers using manual control down 118 aircraft. On June 28, 1944, the Bureau of Ordnance issues Technical Bulletin 44 to 127. Temporary authorization for manual fire control in multiple target engagements. The bulletin is 12 pages long, filled with caveats and restrictions and warnings. The last sentence reads, "This procedure is authorized for emergency use only until improved fire control systems can be developed." Translation: We still think this is a terrible idea, but we can't argue with the results. Bobby Hendricks receives the Bronze Star on July 15, 1944. The citation reads, "For heroic achievement in connection with operations against the enemy while serving aboard USS Laffey." It doesn't mention the modification. It doesn't explain what he did. Just, heroic achievement. Chief Webb tells him later. They don't want to officially admit that a second-class petty officer figured out something their engineers couldn't. Bad for morale. Bobby doesn't care. He's not interested in credit. He's interested in the fact that every day, somewhere in the Atlantic or Pacific, a destroyer uses manual fire control to down aircraft that would otherwise kill sailors and soldiers. By September 1944, the U.S. Navy estimates that manual fire control has resulted in 312 additional aircraft destroyed beyond what director control alone would have achieved. 312 aircraft. Each one carrying bombs or torpedoes intended for American ships or landing craft. The Navy's statisticians calculate, though they never officially publish this, that the modification prevented approximately 5,000 Allied casualties between June and December 1944. 5,000 fathers, brothers, sons who came home because Bobby Hendricks had 3 seconds to decide and refused to accept that nothing could be done. The manual fire control modification was never officially standardized. By 1945, the Navy had developed the Mark 56 Director, a faster, more advanced fire control computer that could track multiple targets. The Mark 56 made manual fire unnecessary. By 1950, radar-guided proximity fuses and automated tracking systems made the whole debate obsolete. By 1960, guided missiles replaced manual gunnery entirely. The modification existed for exactly 18 months, from June 1944 to December 1945. Then it vanished, replaced by better technology. But in those 18 months, it saved thousands of lives. Bobby Hendricks stayed in the Navy. He made chief in 1946, Senior Chief in 1952, Master Chief in 1958. He retired in 1963 after 21 years of service. He never gave interviews about D-Day. He never wrote a memoir. When people asked about his Bronze Star, he said, "I did my job. A lot of guys did more." He died in 1997 at age 74. His obituary in the Muncie newspaper was 3 paragraphs. It mentioned his Navy service. It didn't mention what he'd done. The lesson isn't about Bobby Hendricks specifically. The lesson is about the moment between seeing a problem and deciding whether you're going to do something about it. Every expert in the U.S. Navy knew that fire control directors could only engage one target at a time. It was a fundamental limitation. It was physics. It was the way things worked. Bobby Hendricks looked at that limitation and thought, what if we just didn't? 3 seconds. A screwdriver. 2 wires. 5,000 lives. That's the difference between, that's how it works, and, that's how it could work. The experts aren't always wrong. Regulations exist for good reasons. Safety protocols prevent disasters. But sometimes, just sometimes, the person who changes everything is the one who refuses to accept that the problem is unsolvable. Dennis Campbell drew an angled line on a carrier deck and saved thousands of pilots. Bobby Hendricks pulled 2 wires from a junction box and saved thousands of soldiers. Neither one was supposed to innovate. Neither one had permission. Neither one had credentials. They just had 3 seconds to decide, and the refusal to accept that good people should die for a system that could be changed. Modern naval fire control uses artificial intelligence, phased array radar, and computers that can track hundreds of targets simultaneously. The Aegis combat system can engage 40 aircraft at once with perfect accuracy. But in 1944, the best system in the world could only track 1. Until a 21-year-old radar technician from Indiana decided that wasn't good enough. If you know someone in the military, if you know anyone who solved a problem by refusing to accept it was unsolvable, share this story with them. Because the next Bobby Hendricks might be reading this right now. And 3 seconds from now, they might change everything.